arm sticking out.
Jesus shirts.
Yeah, they look more like a toga when you put it on. It doesn't fit your body. It just looks like they took fabric, sewed it together, and you. Okay, and so the arm will stick out. All right, are we going live?
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. All right, everybody, welcome back to Quantum Bombs. Beth is gone. She's living her best life in Europe. When I grow up, I want to be Beth Hagendorf. I'm Matt Barnett, and I'm here with Russell Hagendorf, and we have a guest today. I'm going to let you introduce yourself, buddy.
I'm Vernon. Grew up here in Columbus with you guys, so longtime friend of Russell and acquaintance of Matt and Beth. So,
yeah, my name's Russell Hagendorf, and I just wanted to say about Vernon is he's actually Quantum Bomb's biggest listener, and that's how he ended up on the show.
Yeah, so in Morocco, if you're listening, we know that you've been following us. We'll get you over here too because you're second.
That's sad if I'm y'all's biggest listener.
No, we have a guy. We have some Moroccan followers. Yeah,
nice. But
I don't know where that comes from.
I don't know if y'all want to know anything else about me, but that's why I'm here.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you can help fill the dead air when we got questions.
Okay. Yeah. Do my best.
Yeah, as usual, we come do this, and Russell always seems to have some topics to get things started. You got anything for us today, Russell?
Yeah, I can read a list of current events that we won't get into. How's that sound?
Yeah, sounds good. Just shoot. Something will stand out.
All right. Biden is using a CPAP machine for sleep apnea, the White House says, after the strap lines on his face were caught in photos. Pfizer's stock falls 5% after halting the development of their experimental obesity drug for safety concerns. We talked about that on another show. That's only why I brought that up. Globalist Macron calls for a new international tax on top of the current taxes to finance climate efforts. North Korea held mass rallies in Pyongyang where people shouted slogans vowing war of revenge to destroy the U.S. Russia drops charges against the Wagner Group for armed mutiny and attempted military coup. Biden said when he was leaving the White House that Putin is clearly losing the war in Iraq. Joe Biden calls out Peter Hotez to debate RFK, who's a vaccine skeptic. The Ford Motor Company has filed a patent for a curfew enforcement, so I guess the vehicle won't work after certain hours. It's a little weird.
Yes, I want that.
Rivian has also jumped on the Tesla charging bandwagon, so they're going to be using the same Tesla chargers, and that actually increased Tesla's stock price a bit. Bud Light sponsors LGBTQIA float in the Toronto Pride Parade, where naked adults were dancing in front of children. Seattle Pride event chanted, "We're here, we're queer, and we're coming for your children." U.S. Navy took 4 days to say they knew about the sub that exploded that was exploring the Titanic. A pro basketball player who was previously blamed COVID vaccine for rare heart condition dies of a heart attack. Texas Power Grid and some other utilities on Tuesday called on residents to voluntarily cut back on air condition and appliances use as record heat waves here in Texas. The U.S. approves lab-grown meat for human consumption, and J.P. Morgan reaches a $29 million settlement with the Epstein victims. Amazon shut down a customer's house. Amazon shuts down a customer's house for a week due to alleged racial slur heard by the Amazon delivery guy. And a showdown at Rio Grande as the Texas police and state troopers block migrants from illegally entering the U.S. and being chauffeured in by the federal government. So
That's a lot of topics. I was taking notes there. I was like, I don't know which one of those.
Were you really?
Say that.
A little.
Oh, okay.
Say that last
like
one again.
ones.
I don't understand who's keeping who.
So in Texas we have what we call state troopers as well as just police, and they're using razor wire and just other means to block migrants at the southern border from entering the U.S. There's video of them like they're just chilling out in the river. It's so hot they're like hanging out in the water. Some of them are on the bank, but some of them are just chilling in the river, and they can't go anymore because they set up a barricade. And the feds are like, "What are you doing? We're ready to bus them over to their hotels," So
So the Federal Border Patrol
The federal,
is
I
ready
made
to
up,
receive them.
I made up that part about them because they will bus them in and bring them to hotels, like they have been known to do that. But that was not a part of this story. The story, the feds weren't in the story.
Okay, it's just that the Texas state troopers are going down there and enforcing the border.
And Texas National Guard.
Okay, I've seen them when I drive out to the ranch. I see the guys in fatigues on the side of the road.
Oh, yeah, where's your ranch at again? That one down south?
Yeah, it's down by Big Bend National Park.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was always Big Bend. I've only been there a couple times, and I was always, when they talked about building a wall, and you look at Big Bend, and I'm like, how would you build a wall across that? And that would be terrible. It's beautiful.
You don't do that.
You don't even need that much of a wall. They just got like a couple loops of razor wire.
Well, you don't need a wall at all. What you need to do is make it where it's less appealing to come over here. There's a lot of things that benefit illegal migrants to come over here. Once they get here, if you kind of take those away, then it kind of takes away the reason for them to make the trip.
Yeah.
The wall seems, I mean, there's spots that probably helps in, but a full wall, the whole border doesn't seem very effective and very expensive, and where it could be used. Other things that are cheaper could be used to deter people faster.
Well, and what sucks is who gets the river. Somebody, and it's not fair to either side, but somebody's going to lose the river.
The wall's built on this side, but what's even weirder is the property owners that adjoin that. If you own property along the river, and they get an easement for the wall or whatever, they give you. I've seen people in this like a farmer has a field and a fence or a barricade, a fence, a wall, whatever you want to call it, going through it. And he has this big sliding gate, like wide enough for his tractors to get through and whatever. And they have him a code set up. So when he wants to go plow the other side, he types a code in, opens it. He's not crossing the border.
Right. He's still on his property.
He's still on his property. The border's the river, like you said.
Yeah.
But he's got to deal with that fence now, or barricade, or wall, whatever you want to call it. It makes a difference, though, because Hillary Clinton advocated for a fence in her, campaign 20 years ago. That was perfectly fine. Trump wall, bad. Hillary Clinton fence, good.
Yeah.
Can't call it a wall. It has to be a fence.
I think it has places.
Yeah.
There's places for
There are.
it. But out by Big Bend, you go to that. I mean, there's 1,500-foot sheer cliffs on the Mexican side. Then there's a river. And then, if you put a wall on our side, you're blocking the people that want to use the river. If Mexico were to put the wall on their side, then their people would be blocked from the river. And that just seems bad. You know?
If there was no reason to come here, if you couldn't get work, if you couldn't get health care, you couldn't get housing.
Oh, yeah, if we didn't have, open arms, come on in, let's just take care of you.
If you can, and the anchor baby is something we were just discussing, where they call that birthright citizenship or something. They're going to vote on that pretty soon. I guess that's coming up. I doubt it'll be overturned, but, America's one of the only, very few countries that allow anchor babies.
Well, you can come here 9 months pregnant on a tourist visa
and have an American child.
Customs will be like, "What are you here for? Tourism?" Okay.
yeah. It's a really strange thing. But if you took all that away, the incentive to come here illegally wouldn't be as strong. And then of course, the drugs as well. But
one of the things that recently came to my attention, and I always heard about this stuff, and I mean, my God, who can keep up with everything going on these days? But you hear about child sex trafficking. And people are so quick to dismiss it, whatever. Well, a stronger border is going to cut down on that. One of the things I've noticed was they had these issues with stranded children. Well, where are the parents? And there's a language barrier, or they're not talking, and there's a couple adults, and then there's a mess load of children. And they have to detain them to determine, is this actually the family? Mm-hmm. Or are these people trafficking children one way or the other?
Yeah.
Coming across. And so a stronger border is going to lock down on that, whereas this just asinine idea of completely open border with a country that has known problems with human trafficking and drugs and weapons. Just, no, we don't need these border checkpoints. Just come on in.
Yeah.
I'll flip it around on them. Think of the children. I mean, I got opened up when I listened to one of the undercover agents that was describing what they come across with these houses where the children are kept for the sex trade. I mean, these kids are from 2 years old to 6 years old. They're 12, 2 to 12. Their lifespan is about 2 years. They're put on drugs, so that they just basically are flesh zombies, and they're used for sexual gratification. And what's amazing to me, growing up, I always thought that pedophiles was like this weird fringe part of society, like 1 in a million dudes looked at a kid and wanted to do anything to a kid, you know. But apparently there's like 2 million children just in North America, or maybe in the U.S. I think it was maybe the U.S. that are estimated at being held for the sex trade. That's a huge appetite.
Yeah.
So that industry, and that's just what we know about. So that industry is supplying a massive appetite. And there's a company or a group called Underground Railroad, and I want to know more about them. I want to know ways of like volunteering with them, giving them money, you know, any way I can help. But what they do is they do what I always thought was the common sense thing. They go in as if they're a buyer or a recreational user, deep in these nasty parts of the country. They go to Mexico, which, you know, they're not that nasty, actually. It's beautiful places. It's right under your nose. You know, it's in Houston, Texas. It's in Austin. It's everywhere. But what's going on is nasty. And they'll say, hey, we want to have a party. We're going to do like a bachelor party. You know, we want to bring a bunch of guys. We need as many kids here as we can. You know, don't get other kids. We just want kids that are already kind of used to this, you know. And they'll put a big group together, and then they'll go get with the cops and let them know what's going on, and they come and raid it and save them.
Yeah.
And he was explaining what they were seeing, and he explained too. He's like, guy, all the people that are so soft, liberal, you know, big heart, bleeding heart people, they're not thinking about it right when it comes to this border thing. They're like, oh, let these people in. It's like, no, you don't understand. There's a massive sex trade going on here, and this open border is killing children, literally.
That's just one thing that's happening too.
Well, yeah, absolutely. That's one, but that's the one that makes me really want to throw up. Sure. You know, some dude want to come over here and pick tomatoes. I mean, you know, okay. There's problems with that, right?
Yeah,
fentanyl
but I mean, like the children is the top tier. Like if you're gonna which one of these you can only stop one. Which one? It'd be the children.
Absolutely.
Right? Of course, but and then what happens to them too when they're here? I mean, we can't just send them back to nowhere.
Well, they kill them.
You know? Yeah.
A lot of times they expire.
No. If a child comes here and gets into the custody of border control, like they don't have any family to send them back to. Like, what do we do with those kids now?
Right. What do we do?
These orphans, basically.
Right.
Yeah, and that's really sad. And that's a gray area too, where it's you can't treat them the same as the adults, in my opinion. But yeah, did you see the video of the Chinese immigrants coming through the Mexican border? Yeah,
it's funny if I saw them out there.
Yeah, there's a video I saw.
How many one-way tickets does like Mexico City see? And it's like
yeah, it's the most one-way traveled country in the world.
It's like a suspicious city.
Yeah,
like,
but that their population never increases. It's like, where are these people going? I don't know where they're going. But no, there's a video of a guy walking. I don't know what this line is for, but he's asking immigrants that are standing in this like covered walkway. I don't know what they're waiting to go into, but he's asking each one where they're from, and it was just like Honduras, China, Guatemala, China. It was a ton of Chinese people, and they were saying that they were Chinese. He's like, where are you from? China.
Are they just trying to get here to get the hell away from China?
Oh, who knows? I mean, some may be. I mean, they were all military age. You know, they weren't like really old or really young. There's a couple of women in that video. I mean, that's just one video. That could have been just a large group that was just at that time. It might not be a constant thing, but there's definitely anybody wants to come into our country unchecked just needs to go to Mexico. Whether you be an Islamic terrorist, you be a Chinese spy, a Russian spy, anybody, you can just fly to Mexico or take a boat to Mexico and then just walk across. It's that easy. So that's another big issue with it too. Is it's like we're possibly letting enemies in. I mean, these people could just be trying to find a better life too, and there's probably a large population of those. But there's the sprinkling of dirtbags in all groups.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, economic opportunity. But I think I heard it argued that like you can't seek asylum if you're in China. Like you're gonna go to like a bordering country. Like the idea behind an asylum seeker is like your country's at war, something really bad's happening, and you escape by any means you can to get to the border and seek asylum in like the neighboring country. You can't choose a country on the other side of the planet and be like, oh, you know what? I think I'm just going to seek asylum all the way over there. Or like if you're in South America, like 10 countries over, I'm going to cross 10 country borders to get to America and seek asylum. So at this
When
point,
you
you're
could have
just,
sought asylum in a bordering country.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, but another thing I don't hear people say or talk much about is so they try and act like the virtuous thing to do would be to just let these people in and assimilate or whatever. But like first off, where did they come from and why did they leave? And like if they left a bad situation, do you think allowing people that have the ambition and the health to actually get their person here is going to help the situation over there or make it worse? And I would argue it's going to make it worse. If you have all the ambitious people that want to have a business or do anything, if they're just going to leave to come to America, well then wherever they left is going to be worse off because they're no longer there. And these are like the younger productive people. Like the oldest people in the society aren't going to be able to make the journey, so they're going to be left there, and then all the young people leave to come here. So then you're just creating the situation even worse for wherever they left. That's what I've always thought people. So the idea would be you want to improve the situation where they came from, and then seek out policies that do that, rather than just being like, oh yeah.
There was a South Park episode on that.
Will they ship them to somewhere in a bus?
No, it was the one where the people from the future were coming back.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was Terminator rules. You can come back, but you can't go forward. They're coming back to make their lives better for their families in the future.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And that was the thing that was like, we got to make everything better so they don't come back.
You were like, took my job.
Yeah, that's the first one that they did that from. That they all start.
You never hear that. You never hear like, well, let's make it better where they came from.
Well, I said that when I was in high school. I was like, why don't we just invade Mexico? Like, let's just take it over.
They're
You guys
talking about doing that.
I heard about that, but I think there's other reasons than making it better. But as a kid, I was like, well, they failed. It's basically pretend you lived in a land where there was no law, and your neighbor is just beating the shit out of his wife every day and horrible to the kids. And so finally you said, okay, dude, you failed. You're out. You're out of the neighborhood. Peace. We run this house now.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
But-
I mean, I think it's that Russell was talking about too. A lot of these people coming over here that would be good in their society to stay there. There are a lot of successful people in Mexico too
Yeah.
that are like would be our middle class that don't want to come over here.
No.
Well, you're
So
talking about
what's coming over here are people who
you're talking about the whole country. You're talking about one country though, when it's like more than just that now. I think a lot of them are from Venezuela.
you mean the people coming over, or
The
the people
migrant-
living there.
The people coming over, they
Oh,
come
okay.
through. They
Yeah,
come
coming
through
yeah.
Mexico.
Some of the smaller countries.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's because all the ones that were going to come here from Mexico have already come here. So now it's all the other countries filling in.
Modern monetary theory in Venezuela has brought them here.
Modern monetary theory.
Do you not know what
No.
modern it basically means you can fund government by printing money and you don't ever really have to worry about the consequences.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, well, we actually haven't seen a lot of consequences here in the States yet. Some inflation, but we haven't gotten a taste of it bad yet.
I keep hearing it's coming, and I'm kind of like, let's just get it over with. Let's do it.
Thing is, when like inflation's, let's say, real inflation's, let's say 10%, and the CPI is like, I don't know, 6, and then the CPI goes down to like 4, like inflation went down. It's like prices are still going up. They're
Yeah.
just going up slower.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
not like the prices are never going to turn around and go back to
They
where
always
they
talk
were.
about the rate of increase, the percentage of
Yeah.
increase, and they're like, well, the percentage of increase has slowed down. Is like, it's still increasing though, right? And they're like, yeah. Well, it's like,
Not good.
yeah.
I
It's,
think a lot of people hear inflation went down. They think prices went down. Like no,
yeah.
it's still they're actually still going up.
I heard a theory the other day. I think I was telling you about this. It was a podcast I listened to with this. I think the guy's name is Bustamante. He's a ex-CIA operative. Anyways, he was talking about how the Ukraine war was basically a way for the Biden government or whatever to shore up the economy. Because the GDP goes up and all this stuff because of all the war machine making money on funding this stuff. So, like, if the Ukraine war wasn't here, we would be in a true economic downturn, and they would look bad. So it's like one of the reasons. So I'm sure it's many reasons, but one of the reasons to continue.
They look bad.
Yeah, they look. I wonder do they think that we're too dumb to see, or is it just are they too dumb to think that they're not being obvious in what they're doing? Like
well, there's something to be said for those who have the platform. They can say whatever they want, and as long as you have the media that just champions it. You know, the funniest sticker I ever saw was it was a cartoon of an old hippie from the 60s that said, "Don't trust the man," you know, think for yourself and all this stuff. And he was passing a new hippie that had all the corporate stickers all over it. And it's like, we're the resistance, yet every major corporation is with you. Every news media outlet is with you.
Yeah.
The current administration and government is with you, but you're the resistance? Yeah. Come again, man.
Yeah.
Old
hippies would probably be considered conservatives.
They would be.
George Carlin would be considered a conservative these days.
Oh, by far.
And he was far. I mean, he hated.
Well, let me ask you this:
Republicans.
why do you think that the comedians have been coming around the way they have?
I was kind of leaning more right now.
Yeah, I know a lot of comedians
because they're attacking their free speech.
Yeah. I think it's because every joke has to have a grain of truth for it to actually be funny, and so that if you're truthful, like you can't help you can't go along with the woke insanity if you're gonna be in reality. But I wanted to back you up on what you had just said, and I left this out of the I forgot, and it didn't make the list I had read earlier. But if you guys know who James O'Keefe is, he made it a company called Project Veritas, and they went around with undercover cameras. He got hot chicks to go on dates for him and video record these CEOs spilling their guts. And
I've never seen those. The
FBI actually infiltrated his board or intimidated his board into getting him out. So he got voted out of his own company. Anyway, he's at OMG now, O'Keefe Media Group, doing the same thing. And he had somebody go on a date with a BlackRock exec, and one of the quotes from that hidden cam video was, "War is really effing good for business." And he talked about how the Ukraine war was really good for, business, economy, all this.
I mean, we've known about this since World War II. I mean, that was...
Well, since the dawn of man.
Yeah, but I mean, we've known about this profitable war machine. What was it Eisenhower when he left?
That warned about the military-industrial complex.
Yeah, when he left. I mean, so we've known about it since then. Like when the sitting president leaves, a successful, popular sitting president leaves and warns us of the war machine and the industrial complex, like of that. Well, we've known. We maybe didn't take it serious, but we've known about it since then, you know.
So since we're on this topic, how bizarre was it that this Prigozhin character of the Wagner Group, like, now I only heard this a while back that he had his group got bombed with a missile from Russia, so he gets upset. But that was like the last straw, because I've seen videos before this whole attempted military coup happened of him just being really upset. He's got a bunch of dead bodies, and he's saying, "Look at these people that died because of you. You didn't send us ammunition." And he's really mad at the Russian government not sending ammo. Anyway, he turns around out of Ukraine and then goes back into Russia, takes over Rostov-on-Don and all the military base stuff there, and then heads toward Moscow to take Moscow. Did you guys keep up with this? This was bizarre.
I just happened really quick.
If you kept up, and they shot down 6 Apache helicopters or whatever the Russian equivalent is on the way. It's not like they didn't have any conflict. They killed Russian soldiers, Russian equipment, and they shot down another one of their surveillance airplanes.
And all of a sudden they just not give up, but just like.
And then out of nowhere,
peace, we're good.
Yeah, out of nowhere they get a pardon agreement, but out of nowhere a third party comes in. Belarusian president says, "Hey, why don't you just come over into our country where you're welcome?" And then they go protect the border over there, and it's over with.
Yeah.
This is like the strangest thing, the strangest turn of events, and
somebody got paid. That's what
it sounds like. Somebody got a lot of money.
Yeah, somebody got paid.
Well, what's weird is this Prigozhin guy is supposed to be a billionaire, but yet he's on the front lines of this war or close to him, running his army. I was like, what billionaire would choose to be on anywhere in a war zone? Like, I would just go be on my yacht somewhere.
Yeah.
Unless he's just a maniac. I was like, I can't believe how quickly it ended too, because I was at that time I was on a Twitter space, which by the way, Twitter, it really showed me how obsolete the media was, because I saw Fox News on the TV, and I had muted, and then I had Twitter Space that was following it, and they were just like on the ball with every update. And it would be like a lag of 30 minutes of whatever they say happened. Like, let's say it was when they turned around or either reversed. They got out of their course. Their convoy stopped going to Moscow, started going to Belarus. It was like 30 minutes later, Fox was talking about it. I was like, oh, I already heard about this on Twitter Spaces. It's like, you guys are late.
Funny.
What do you think about the whole, one of the subjects you talked about was Hotez debating RFK. What's your take on that? Like, I
don't feel like he's gonna do it, and the reason I think he knows he's gonna like lose the debate.
If you think you're gonna lose though, why keep talking so much crap? Like, you think you just clam up and just disappear into the shadows? Except he's still just like, this is anti-vax. This is conspiracy theory. This is all this other stuff. And then somebody's like, okay, well, let's come talk about it.
Well, if you think
like,
you're going to lose a debate, it's time to check what you think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but
not
regardless.
He's got too many checks coming in the bank.
Maybe you just stop. You just stop talking. Like, why does he need? If he's his own worst enemy, if he just never replied or never even tweeted about that Joe Rogan podcast. That's kind of what started it with that Joe Rogan podcast. He tweeted that this was misinformation, this was conspiracy theory, and all this. If you weren't confident enough to go like crush this dude, why would you even say anything?
Mm-hmm.
Like talking crap to a dude you know can whoop your ass. Like that's That's dumb.
It seems like RFK has more to lose being a presidential candidate, stepping into a debate he didn't need to be in.
Sure.
On like what is considered to be an outlier position, and he's still and Peter Hotez still like won't debate him.
Yeah, that just kind of points to the fact that they know that they've screwed up. They know that there's information he has that's bad.
Yeah,
is damning to them.
This isn't the exact same, but I do feel like people on the left don't have philosophical consistency, so that they can't really do well in debates because their belief set revolves around like whatever the tribe tells them to believe, rather than some kind of underlying like philosophy they have that they all go to. So, yeah, I feel like they avoid debates
Well, sometimes the things they pick is really hard to debate. Like the whole what is a woman like, or the men competing in women's sports. Like it's like that's hard. It's hard to debate.
It shouldn't be debated.
Well, sure, but I mean, like it's hard to be on that side. Like to argue the things that they want to argue, you can blow it out of the water really quick, and they know that. So their argument is just, well, you're homophobic or you're transphobic and stuff like that, and that's how they shut you down.
Well, I think this table is a hippopotamus. Let's debate on whether this is a hippopotamus or a table. It's that ludicrous.
Well, what is a hippopotamus?
Yeah, what is it? So, no, we're doing other stuff. You're crazy,
Yeah. That's what if it's something that's made up and you try to argue it, like it's a hard debate. So that's why
if it's all a nebulous, if it's all a nebulous, where's the solid ground that you start from to construct your ideas? If it's all this wishy-washy, there's no bedrock, what are you standing on?
Yeah.
And reality will wash them away. And that's what I relax and remember, is that reality is going to whip everybody's ass. Mine, theirs, everybody's.
I totally agree with that. Like I kind of, it's probably not good, but I'm entertained by like when things get out of hand and like men start dominating women's sports. I don't have a daughter, so I don't have a dog in the fight, right? And so I'm just kind of like, I just think it's hilarious. It's like reap what you sow.
Yeah.
Like watch what's going to happen. Like let that thing that you want happen. And I want to sit back while it doesn't affect me personally. Which is bad because it affects other people.
Oh, and so many people out there work so hard to get there.
Yeah, but I'm just like, let's do this. Like Dylan Mulvaney, I love that guy.
Yeah,
he is. I like watching his videos. I like watching what happens when he gets involved in things because it's kind of like
you support Woman Face.
Yeah, it's not that I support it, but I am entertained by it, and because it's kind of like, this is what like even the people who are like, on this side are kind of like, I don't know if this is what we wanted.
Yeah.
Was this what we were talking about? Because we've gone a little too far now.
We have a bedrock. Yeah, we have a foundation. No, you don't. You don't have a foundation at all. One of the things that I liked watching was where they took away any criminal penalty for anything stolen under $1,000 or under $900 something dollars.
Is that federal or state?
No, this was in Portland or
Okay,
Oregon
okay,
or somewhere over on the whack coast, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
I like that.
any place you stole from, if it was under a certain amount, like cops wouldn't even come. And I was like, this is great. All these big companies that are there that are pushing all this crap, everybody will just go in there and load it up right to the brim of 900 and walk out the door. Let's get it over with quick. Because and they're either going to do one of two things. They're either going to just like pour money into it, or they're going to shut it down.
Yeah.
And shutting it down is showing them, guys, what are you doing?
Or those people, those store owners and stuff will leave to another place that supports them, and their economy will crash.
Yeah, exactly. And now you have this horrible, festive place. You asked for it.
Yeah.
What sane person thought, well, it's okay. We're just going to allow this.
Yeah.
And that'll be great.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of why it's entertaining to me. Like, it's kind of like we have to hit rock bottom before we can come back up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, let's do it. Let's sink this ship.
Well, what we should do is open up a Walgreens and a Foot Locker. Do they still have Foot Locker?
There might be, or if a mall exists, there's a Foot Locker in it.
Foot Locker.
Are malls even open anymore?
Yeah, I don't know. Probably not. But you figure out what chains are down there doing this $900 theft thing. Open up a store, a knockoff of it in Texas, and send all your trucks there, and just have your employees walk in one by one and take 900 at a time and load your 18-wheeler up.
Yeah.
Free merch. Come here and sell it.
I think what's going on, it's changing a lot. Obviously, what some stores are doing is they're making it to where there's no basically shelves. You go to like a counter where you tell them what you want, and then they go to the back behind the counter to get it and bring it out. So
I've seen that. Or they have like where some stores have the valuable stuff behind the glass,
yeah.
and then but the whole store is glass.
Yeah.
The whole thing makes me sick because, look where this is going. Let's say we had a room full of children here that were well behaved. Their parents disciplined them, and they're just good kids. Well, you could have the fine china out. You could put a movie on. I told my kids one time, I said, look, I'm tired. I'm going to bed, but I'm going to trust y'all one time. You can watch this movie for 30 more minutes, and you're going to turn it off and you're going to go to bed. And I'll know where it's at.
Yeah.
I can go look at that. And they did it,
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of freedom in my house. A lot of freedom. But you go somewhere where you take the responsibility off of the people, and you almost make the store clerk the bad guy. Well, why'd you have it on a shelf for him to take it?
Yeah.
Why'd you leave it out? Well, I don't know. It's a freaking store. That's why.
Isn't that called victim blaming?
So you can come by here
Why'd you
and
wear that skimpy shirt? You were asking.
Yeah, you were asking. See, there they go. So they'll play that part. The store guys, he shouldn't have had that stuff out.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, what do you mean I shouldn't wear these short shorts? So where do you think it's heading? It's heading to a shithole is where it's headed. And nobody's going to want to live in it. And it's so funny because then they'll come out to somewhere where people live with complete 180-degree values of theirs. They're like, wow, it's so nice here. Nobody locks their doors. Yeah, we're going to shoot your ass, too.
Yeah.
If you break in at 3 a.m. Like, we're just going to call the cops to clean the mess up.
Yeah.
And we're not going to jail. Yeah. We're not even going to be questioned. They're just going to clean you up.
Yeah.
But you love it here, don't you? You see, that's the trade-off. So go back to your people shitting in the street. Your store's all barred up. Crap everywhere. But love it. Don't come over here where the streets are clean. People don't lock their doors. People wave and smile and talk to you.
Yeah.
And try to genuinely help people who have problems.
Don't come here and try to change things.
No, because we're different. We're not the same.
Y'all left out like one thing they're also doing alongside this is they basically give them all the drug. Is it paraphernalia? The stuff that you consume.
Paraphernalia is the stuff that you use to use the drugs. Needles.
They're giving. So they're not giving them drugs, but they're giving them drug paraphernalia to consume drugs in a safe manner.
That's been going on for a long time, though.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, there's been organizations that give
like clean needles to
to
fight HIV.
addict,
clean
to keep
needles
them healthy.
Is one thing, but
so
they're giving them like
problems.
they're giving them like crack smoking kits. And stuff. Like not.
Yeah, the smoking. It's all usually it used to just be injectable stuff. Like yeah, you don't need to give them a pipe. Like you're not getting HIV from a pipe. It might burn your lip, but yeah, like the needles and stuff they used to do to just keep people from getting hepatitis, HIV, and that kind of stuff. Because they literally just use the same one over and over again. Also, and just infection. So now you have two problems. You have an addict who's also now HIV positive or has an infection. So, but yeah, that's that's weird. Giving them pipes and like what tourniquets and spoons or what? It's like that's a weird one.
It is. This is such a sad thing. I don't know enough to even talk on this topic, but because I've never given a crap about drugs. I just don't care about them. But how many people that get into that life have ever gotten out? Like, what is the percentage of recovery?
I don't know.
You know,
there's a lot of them though.
It is. There is a lot.
Oh yeah, you hear a lot of people talk about addiction, and I mean, I know people personally who've had addiction. Usually when they're younger, they get tied up in it, and then they realize they want a better life, and they fight their way out of it. Not everybody, but
it just seems so sad to me. I don't have an answer for it. I know the redneck answer, let them die and all that. I'm not that guy. And I know the whole personal responsibility thing falls on deaf ears because once somebody's addicted to that crap, you're not talking to a rational person, and they need help.
The solution to drug abuse is actually drugs.
Okay.
There's like retreats you can go to where they give you like DMT and let you trip for like.
Are we going to call those drugs? You can talk about mushrooms. Mushrooms is
it's a little bit more powerful.
Ayahuasca.
A little bit more powerful than mushrooms.
I know it's concentrated, but I'm just saying. You
but
start calling them drugs, now we're getting into a whole new realm that they weren't drugs before.
Why weren't they drugs before?
Well, they're just because they're natural.
All right.
I mean, they're like a holistic medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that helps somebody get off of hard drugs?
Drugs that are not fun.
Psychedelics.
Drugs that are not fun to take, or they put them on them and they're on them for like 48 hours. They have terrible trips, and then when they get done with that, like these people don't want to do the fun drugs anymore.
Legitimate universities, medical universities, are doing studies right now on psychedelics, medically used for addiction. I mean, they're curing everything from alcohol, cigarette smoking, to heroin and meth.
Really? Meth?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Using psychedelics.
Using psychedelics. It somehow, Russell, you may know a little more about this than I do, but it somehow rewires your neurons basically to be able to kind of, I don't know, have the mental fortitude to not go back or something like that. I mean, there's even, what's this? I was listening to a podcast the other day. I think a guy's name is Sean Ryan. You know that guy? He's a podcaster. Anyways, he talks about his trip on psychedelic. He went to like a retreat where they did and anyways, he said like not only does he not drink anymore. I don't even know if he had a problem, but he just decided not to drink anymore. He's like, I don't watch porn anymore. I don't like these. I guess these might have been things he went in wanting to get like stop doing.
Yeah.
And like he's like, I haven't had a drink in like over a year, like not a drink. And I don't know if he had a problem or not, but it could really change.
So it must hardwire something. So it goes beyond the willpower.
That's what they always talk about. Open your mind, man. All the hippies and stuff like that. That's literally kind of what they're talking about. They didn't know why it was doing it.
I don't know why we didn't do psychedelics for this podcast.
Well,
I would never do any illegal drugs. Russell.
Pretty sure my licenses would have a problem with that.
Hey, so, a friend of mine had told me that in legal shops in Texas here, you can actually buy muscaria psychedelics. So I guess somehow those are legal.
Wow.
So maybe those are podcast friendly.
Muscaria, huh? The little red and white mushroom things.
Yeah.
Are they like a manufactured one, or is it like the actual plant? It's like just dried plant.
It's like a gummy bear. You're not going to see any.
Okay.
It's going to be like a. Well, I don't know. This is kind of a curious topic to me, but like the state of marijuana in Texas is really gray right now. Like
so weird.
You can go to a gas station and buy a vape pen that gets you high as a kite.
So
but somehow like a joint.
I saw the green cross at a gas station the other day near San Antonio.
Oh, I don't know anything about the green. Is that to show that we have medical marijuana?
The green cross is a dispensary anywhere. Colorado, New Mexico, as you travel, the green crosses are everywhere.
Medical marijuana is here. I know people who have
this was at a gas station.
That means you need a doctor of some kind, though.
Yes,
this is gas station.
No, yeah. You can walk into these dispensaries, or not even a dispensary. They sell CBD kind of products and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And they're selling things that are completely legal that get you high. It makes no sense. They can even sell
like way high.
They can sell you the stuff that is like, so there's like Delta 8, Delta 9. Delta 8 is legal, right? Delta 9 is illegal. That's the old school marijuana, right? That's the old school THC. Is
Delta 9 is?
That's what I was told.
Oh, okay.
So I could be, somebody out there might be like, no, but
I think I bought a Delta 9 vape pen.
So yeah, Delta 9, if it's hemp derived, is legal.
And that's so stupid. How would you ever prove it was hemp derived?
There's also, it's like a percentage thing. So it's like, it's not as strong. So you just have to, so it's like, hey, we can't sell whiskey, but we can sell you beer. So you can still get just as fucked up. Can we cuss on here?
Yeah.
All right. So you still get just as fucked up. You just got to consume more.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it's like whiskey's illegal, but beer is legal. It's like, what are we fucking doing? Just like, I can get high legally, or I can smoke a lot more of the stuff that was illegal, but is like, makes no sense.
But I'm not even really your comparison beer and whiskey. It's not even like that to me, because some of these pens are stronger than other illegal stuff, and this is legal. So I'm just like, this is super concentrated. Like, what? Why is anything even illegal anymore? But anyway, if you go to these shops, they also have muscaria psychedelics.
That's the first I've heard of that.
Yeah. Well, I learned this recently as well, because I know that psilocybin is a controlled substance to some degree, and that's illegal.
Yeah.
You know, they don't.
Even
have
though they're doing it medically now, but it's like only in the study phase, I guess.
Really, it's illegal? Those mushrooms are everywhere.
It's only illegal if you pick them up.
The ones that grow here, which begs the question. You know, if you pick them with your hand, you're possessing them. They're illegal. Which begs the question: if you graze them like a cow and eat them off the ground, is that illegal?
Well, there may be something that's stupid, because when we did a business at our location out in the country, the authorities came in and said, you can't have a septic tank here. You don't have a permit for your septic. I was like, okay, well, then we're going to disconnect it, you know? Well, they came back and told me later that if I had just run a pipe out on the ground and we just let shit and toilet paper just pour on top of the ground, they couldn't do anything about it. They're like, it's when it goes in the ground. You see, the reasoning is that it's going into the soil and the groundwater, and it can go to your neighbor. But you taking a dump is not an illegal act.
Oh, okay.
And so to throw you in jail or fine you for taking a shit on your land is absurd, right?
Yeah.
But you see, you're putting it in the ground, and you didn't pay the money for somebody to come in and do a study and give you all this crap to do the same thing you could do yourself with a drum and some rock and a backhoe.
Yeah.
Because you see, it could migrate out to your neighbors and stuff. And so, so I thought that was kind of funny. I'm like, okay, $20,000 or just shit on the ground over there, and nobody can touch you. Yeah. So maybe you can crawl around on all fours, maybe especially if you get naked, and just graze some mushrooms. Maybe you're all
well. They
good.
have to witness you touching them. You can just tell them you did that.
Well, look at the brace. Everybody knows about the gun control thing going on right now, right? You know, the pistol brace.
Yeah.
So a guy goes out there and does the most wonderful thing. He says, "Hey, people who are damaged, I want to help them out. Shoot a gun. They can't shoot this rifle, so we make a brace so that they can hold this short barrel rifle, basically, which is it's a pistol, but it's a pistol, but they put this brace so they can hold it." Well, then the ATF comes out and says totally legal because it's helping people who are handicapped. Then they come back and say no, not if you put it to your shoulder. Okay, so you have to be watching someone shoot it like this. No one's around. You put it to your shoulder like this. Oh my God, it's a felony.
Yeah.
That's when we reach clown world.
Well, Joe Biden said a pistol brace actually increases the caliber.
I saw that. Different, bigger calibers and all kinds.
The people who know the least about guns are the biggest advocates against them. It's hilarious. And the pistol brace thing, I'm kind of like, I get that. Yeah, we made pistol braces look just like regular stocks, and it's not a hammer. It's a wrench, not a hammer, but it makes a pretty good hammer, right?
Right. Makes a real good hammer.
But why? Who cares that it's a short barrel rifle? Like, that's the whole thing. It's like, really, if I cut 6-7 inches off my barrel, is it now more deadly? Can I kill more people with it?
Well, here's what blows me away. Get rid of all that crap. Yeah. So I pay the money, and believe me, brother, that's all I do. All these people out there with the misconception that people with licenses, they've been trained and all that. No, they didn't. They just paid some money, filled out a form, and they're not going to jail. And the other guy who couldn't afford that form but is just as good a guy, he's going to jail for 10 years and he has a felony.
Yeah.
Because Of what? Some stupid physical item.
Yeah.
He's not committing a crime, going out shooting tin cans, whatever. One of that thing. I have known people who didn't know what they were doing, and they just wanted to shorten their gun up.
Yeah.
And they're clear like family people. They don't know anything about guns. They're just like, it would make sense. I found this other stock I could put on here. Look at this. I'm like, it's felony.
Yeah. And you can buy the upper already assembled and just slap it right on.
Yeah, but do they deserve 10 years in the slammer?
Yeah.
No way in hell,
I mean,
man.
do you think people are really getting that though? The 10 years. I mean, I know it's a possible. That's like the.
Shouldn't even be on the table.
It shouldn't. I agree. But,
Yeah,
I
but
wonder,
you know
I
what?
wonder what they do. Like what I've never talked to anybody that's actually been caught or hemmed up by it.
So
I'm not
I've-
saying it doesn't happen. I'm just curious.
I've met with ATF that have confiscated a lot of items,
Mm-hmm.
not guns, but explosive devices. And generally what happens, they're pretty cool guys.
Yeah, that's
they
that
go in
kinda-
and they say, hey, look, this is illegal. You can't have it.
Yeah.
If you want to fight us, by all means, it's going to be an issue. But if you want to just surrender it, sign here, and that's the end of it.
Yeah.
We're taking it. They're letting them off.
I'd take that deal any day.
Yeah, I'd take that deal too because, they're first of all, you just got to be glad that the guy that's in charge there has some common sense.
Yeah.
He's like, this is not a criminal. This guy just made an honest mistake, bought it at a gun show, doesn't even know what he has.
Yeah.
But the other hand is you're just hoping that agent has common sense and is a good guy. And
Not
you
something
have
you want to
the-
rely on. for
no,
sure.
because
don't-
you have the full force of a horrible law right behind them if they're not.
And they make an example out of you too.
Yeah.
It's,
So no, I totally disagree. Although I know that's a tool that gives them teeth to get real criminals.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, look, we can charge them with this, we can charge them with this, and they can stack all this stuff up, right?
For sure.
But how many innocents, guys that, okay, if you want to talk about all the people in jail for smoking a joint that shouldn't be there, how many guys are in jail because they sawed the barrel off a shotgun so it fit in their tractor?
Yeah.
Shouldn't be there, man.
I think the other one that's really absurd is when somebody puts a brace on an actual pistol, like a Glock, like a Glock 19 or something. They put the brace on it and they're like, that's a felony. And I was like, you probably made it less lethal,
Yeah.
by doing that. Like by putting the stock on it, like now you're locked in.
Right.
I think that one's hilarious. It's hilarious they even make a stock for that. But
I know. Who
But
thought of
when
that?
when you put one, I was looking at your 6-shooter up here. They have the bunt line 6-shooter. They had that stock that would go on it.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Does that make it? And a lot of people have those. It came with the gun.
Yeah,
It used
it stabilizes it. So I've got a broom handle Mauser.
is that considered a SBR?
So that,
The bunt line I think is a 10-inch barrel.
okay, if it's on that thing that's black powder, it's exempt. Because
Okay.
it's black powder.
Oh, maybe
Muzzle
that's
loaders, they're not even considered firearm, I don't think. Like those two black powders right there, pretty damn sure you can sell that to a 15-year-old kid.
why. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like Civil War type stuff. You're pouring the black.
I thought kids could buy regular rifles as long as they were only shotgun or
Well,
or bolt.
18, right?
Is that 18 for
18 and up. Yeah, I'm talking a 12-year-old kid can probably buy a black powder rifle
Oh, okay.
legally. I think so, but not a cartridge fired weapon. Now there are some exemptions for curios and relics. There's also something about guns that are before a certain age that are exempt. One of the ones that's kind of curious is the broom handle Mauser, and it's like you see it in the movie Rocketeer, and Han Solo's pistol
Okay.
was designed after that. They took one and made it into that.
Yeah.
But, it has a wooden holster that it goes in. You pull it out of that wooden holster, you flip that holster around and clip it in the back, and now it's a stock.
Oh.
And that pistol used to be some of them are a machine pistol, so they're actually fully automatic.
Wow.
And that was a World War I trench sweeper type thing.
Okay.
So that had some advantage, and it's so hilarious because the rear sight, he goes up to like 1,800 yards on that thing. It's like you'd be holding like a mortar, firing it in there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, when you have a full auto, that a stock definitely is beneficial there.
Yeah, sure.
But I mean, once again, it's just
If you
It's
have
just silly.
your regular AK-47 stock folds around, what does that make it when you fold it?
If the barrel is past 16 inches, nothing. It's just
Yeah.
a folding stock. But if that barrel were short,
15 7/8 felony
yeah. and
or
if
unpinned suppressor, or not suppressor, but unpinned
flash
flash suppressor on the
breaker.
front of it.
Flash break, yeah. So if you or flash suppressor and then muzzle brake.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm an explosives guy, not a gun guy. I love guns, shoot
Yeah.
guns, but you start talking about terms and all this. And I'm like, you can lose me pretty quick on the knickknacks. But damn, what was I going to say? You just said something, Russell.
Well, I thought it was the overall length once you fold it up.
There's a law, 26 inches, I think is the law that you can't go under folded. Because there's also, like, I have a Tavor, and the Tavor is a bullpup.
Max or it minimize. It's at the length of that.
And it is 20. It's a 16-inch barrel and a 26-inch gun.
Yeah.
So the MP40, the German real famous little submachine gun, you can buy semi-automatic versions of that. If you buy the pistol version, it does not come with an extendable stock.
Yeah.
If you buy the version that does, it looks really stupid because the barrel is super long. So I had, when I was a kid in high school, I wanted a Tommy gun so bad. And so I bought this semi-automatic Thompson. And when I got it, I was like, something's not right. What is it? And it's this long freaking barrel sticking out there.
Yeah.
So that was one of the first things that I actually paid the $200 in SBR, chopped that sucker off and made it right. Because, yeah, it had to be that length because the original Thompson's like a 10-inch barrel.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Stock didn't matter. You know, it's a SBR.
That's an argument I've made with people before about, is it the gun or society that's the problem, right?
Which is obviously, if you were a scientist, you would do a control and an experimental, right?
Yeah.
That's how you determine something. Well, if you look back 100 years ago, to me 100 years ago is funny. It's still the 1800s.
Yeah.
But 100 years ago is 1923.
Yeah.
You could get a full auto Thompson for about $16. My 13-year-old son could go buy it for me. I could send him down to the hardware store. So don't tell me they weren't available.
Yeah, they were available up until the 80s,
and
right?
Don't tell me they don't. Yeah, 86. Don't tell me that they
Buy
didn't
them
have
in a Walmart. Not
the
Walmart,
equivalent.
but like equivalent. Yeah.
Hardware stores. But the firepower, dude, 100-round drums, fully automatic, $16, available to kids.
Yeah.
You could also order mortars, grenades. You could buy dynamite at the hardware store.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, actually,
dynamite. Yeah, that's.
You could buy dynamite, but you could call up the arsenal and get a 75 millimeter howitzer shipped to your house. Wow. And you could buy the fused live HE ammunition, the same shit that the military was shooting, and have it shipped to your farm.
That's pretty crazy.
And shoot it.
Yeah.
100%. That all started changing with the in 1934 with the NFA. And then in the 1960s, the IRS branch broke off and became the ATF. And then, they started regulating it more and more and more. But, yeah, so you have this constant. You have a country that's just steeped in firepower. In fact, a lot of the guns that we have today from World War II were bringbacks. There was a period of time during World War II, if you could stuff it in a bag and ship it home, you could do it. Belt-fed machine guns. Hell, they were sending grenades back. I mean, everything. And you got to put yourself in that time. They're fighting this war. It's life and death every day. The last thing that officer cares about is a freaking machine gun going back home to Billy's farm.
Yeah.
He's just signed, approved, go. Who cares? We're dealing with this shit every day.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff came back over from that event, and they said that America was one of the only countries where it was that prevalent. Like the British loved their weapons too, but they really controlled it a lot more. They had stricter gun control even back then.
Yeah.
But the firearms are the constant. They have always been here. I mean, in 1944, you could get an MG42, 1,200 rounds a minute, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a buzzsaw.
Yeah.
That today's standard, that is a formidable weapon by anybody's standard. And it was available to children.
Yeah.
So tell me what changed.
Yeah.
It's not the guns.
Yeah, we've gotten more controlled with our guns.
Way more.
Yeah, so the guns are more controlled, but yet we are killing people more with them. So what's happening?
The answer is SSRIs, the antidepressant drugs that people are taking. But you don't need to go back in time to what?
Your ads. You just
matter of fact.
You just say that and then you just move on like that doesn't need explanation.
Well, you don't need. Yeah, I mean, so these people. Well, if you look back at all the school shooters, they all were taking SSRIs. So I mean, that's
what came first, though, chicken or the egg?
So
they were put on SSRIs for a reason.
Well, you had crazy, but the point is, you did have crazy people 100 years ago. You didn't have SSRIs.
True.
But you don't need to go back 100 years to have a comparison. You can look at places. I think RFK talks about Switzerland and the guns per capita being similar to ours in Switzerland, but yet they don't have school shootings like we have.
And I've been to Switzerland, and I have been interested in this topic. Switzerland's gun laws are not what you think. We're under the impression that they're a lot like us and that everybody has a gun in their home. And they do have the option to have it switched to semi-automatic and keep that firearm. I think maybe they even purchase it. It's still limited, though, on where you can go shoot it. Like, here, I can go outside with my AK-47 and blaze away in the back of the farm. Totally legal. In Switzerland, that's kind of an issue. When I was in Switzerland, I did see bright flashes and explosions, and I think they were doing some military training because they do all go through the military service. But one of the interesting things about Switzerland, and this is hilarious, something like a 50 caliber machine gun is not regulated at all. I say not at all. It is less regulated than any other firearm. So 20 millimeter cannon, 50 caliber machine gun. We're talking shit that not only will shoot the school up, but will level the school, physically drop the building.
Yeah.
Those weapons are easy to get a hold of. They check once a year, maybe. And the guy said, I was talking to a guy that lives there, has one. He said, yeah, they don't even show up for years in a row. They don't even show up. He goes, and you can shoot it anytime you want. He said, but if you want to switch it into full auto mode, you pay like $100 for the day, and you notify the local authorities that when they hear this, that this is your daily permit, for that you're going to go full auto for that day, they won't even bother you.
So you can have the full auto weapon, just don't shoot it on full auto unless you pay the.
You pay the little permit and you go shoot. Yeah, but
so weird.
But to be in Europe, this controlled place where they just they're the way they think is just so different than us over here with our gun culture, But to know that the weapons that are the ones that could really do the damage, like, it's not. We don't even regulate it like a firearm. What? You could mount that on a truck and like smoke a village.
Yeah.
Paid my $100 fee.
I don't know what
You probably didn't spend much time in the countryside though. When you're in Switzerland, you probably spend your time in cities or.
No, I was in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was definitely in the country.
And you're saying they didn't have guns there? Or?
They had guns. It's just that they didn't have them like we have them. When you talk to the people that live there, like my exchange student, her father was the mayor of a town. It's a small little mountain town. And so when I went there and started asking about it, they're like, you Americans think we all got guns. We don't even like guns. It's not a big deal. Yeah, there's a few people. They have their equivalent of NRA. The whole country, it's like 200,000 people total. They have them. They don't care like we care. They just don't.
Yeah.
And if I live there, I might not either. That place is utopia. It's surrounded by giant mountains. There's a fountain in the street of glacier water coming out where the kids get off the school bus and they drink water from the mountain. That's what it's for the school kids. I looked around and I said, no wonder they think Americans are a bunch of assholes. They don't have to deal with anything we have to deal with.
Yeah.
They're sitting up there in their little ivory tower in the middle of the mountains in the Swiss Alps where everything's perfect.
A strong sense of community. Probably, I think was what that is too.
Dude, we went to
They hold each other to a higher standard too.
Everything is clean. Everybody knows everybody. Well, at least where I was. Obviously, city would be a different experience, I guess. I went to a lake swimming, and it was like 1950. There was kids out there laying on the blankets. It was quiet, but there was kids.
Yeah.
There was an ice cream vendor sitting there selling ice cream cones, and people are swimming out to the lake and jumping off this thing, and it was completely picturesque. You feel like you died and went to heaven.
Yeah.
It's like, what is this? There's no crime here. You don't even need police in a place like that.
Yeah, I mean that is when people talk about if you take away the guns, you solve a lot of our problems. That isn't false.
No.
But it is an impossible task. It's like getting rid of getting rid of all the fire ants. Like life would be nicer without them.
Right.
And I wouldn't need a gun if my opponent only had a knife or a club. But that's not going to always be the case.
If my opponent has a knife or club, I want a gun.
Of course, yes, you want to step up. But my biggest if I carry, it's not for the guy with a knife. Okay, it may be, but it's mainly for the other guy with the other gun. Yeah. That's mainly my biggest fear with it.
Well, I tell people all the time when they talk about getting rid of the guns, get rid of the problems. I'm like, I said something once on a comment on social media. I said, there were no car accidents when there was only horse and buggies. And they're like, yeah, that's right. But there's only horse and buggies.
Yeah.
You see, there's always going to be guns.
Yeah.
They're here. It's like, you know what? Let's make drugs illegal. Let's go back to that whole thing. Oh, well, fix it. Well, the guns are here. But I take it one step further, and I say, I don't want to give them up.
Yeah.
Like, no. It's a modern society. It's a modern weapon. I'm a free man, and I want it.
You guys are only considering like the social consequences of not having guns rather than like what the government does to the people that when the population doesn't have guns.
Sure.
Which goes back to why I just said that.
I'm not saying I support it. I'm just saying that if there's no guns, there's no mass shootings. That's true. If there's no gun, there's no shootings at all. But it's an impossible task.
Well,
what I say is, if I'm a free person, and that gun exists, and if I want it, I should have it. And if you don't want me to have it, knowing that I'm not a criminal, then why do you not want me to have it?
Fear.
Well, it's kind of weird, right? If you come in my house and you go, you got any butcher knives in here? Well, yeah, I got a few in the drawer. Well, can I have them? You got any security cameras? Yeah. Can you turn them off? What the hell do you want to do?
You know what I tell people when they're like, "Oh, you've got a gun on you?" I was like, "Well, let me be clear. I could kill you without the gun.
Yeah.
Like, I was already dangerous. Like, I'm just because I'm carrying this doesn't mean that you're less likely."
Yeah.
3D printed guns have changed the argument for sure because
they're not very dependable. I don't know if anybody really using them.
Like we're talking about, like the guy does push-ups on them until they break, and that's the test he does. They're basically just plastic, but they can be just as deadly as any other. Like they'll last like hundreds of rounds now. Well, like if you're thinking about the first few ones, like you can 3D print an AR-15.
I feel like it'd be easier just to buy one illegally.
But the point is, you're not getting rid of.
Besides, like I got to get software and a machine, and then I got to test it out. I'll just find one on the street.
The point is, you're not getting rid of them when I can just click print and make one. That was the point. Is like, at least before 3D printing was a thing and 3D guns were a thing, you could at least try and argue we can get rid of them all.
Or just take it a step further, even. Just guys who know how to work a machine shop, like a lathe and a mill.
Yeah,
they can make one too.
People don't. Well, you don't even need that. I mean, to be classified as a firearm, wouldn't you really just need a pipe and some powder and a projectile? And now
that's what they call zip gun.
Yeah, anyone on a construction site could make a firearm by definition. So
if you're going that archaic, then I would just say you're never going to get rid of explosives. And before I farted around that long trying to make an effective firearm, just make explosives.
Or just drive your car.
Like they do in England.
Yeah.
Run through with a knife and stab like 14, 15 people. God, it's gross. I don't even like thinking about it. It's like, no, a guy with a gun could stop that.
And has.
And all the time. But the news doesn't like to talk about it. But it's just a vicious circle. It goes around and around, and we're never going to get anywhere. You will never get anywhere because there's always the people that are saying, I'll never get my guns up. And you have people that say that you don't need it and you shouldn't have it. Thank God for reality.
Well, I think that the gun laws have become less strict in the last 10 years if you consider like a lot of states have gone constitutional carry, and like some of that stuff Clinton put in had sunsetted.
Mm-hmm.
So really, they're actually getting more freedom when it comes to guns as opposed to less.
I agree, and I think that maybe that's why the blame is coming out, because they see the grip is slipping, and so they got to stir something up to get momentum on it. I attribute a lot of that to social media. You know, a long time ago, I had people tell me, "Oh, I don't think you should post that on social media with your guns." I'm like, "Oh, I absolutely should," because the moment that we make it, the moment that you don't put something totally legal, it's totally legal, but you're shunned into not showing it, and you do that over many, many people over time, then it fades away and it's no longer normal. It's either easier to attack and marginalize and then end. So, yeah, everybody that has legal firearms and enjoying that legally, you should post it and put it out there, because what does it do? It spreads awareness. You're going to piss some people off, but other people are going to go, that's cool. You mean I can have that?
Yeah.
And they start wanting to learn about it, and then before you know, you pick up an advocate.
That was one good thing. The Black Panthers used to stomp around with AR-15s in the street, and that was one good thing they did, is they educated everyone you can just walk around with a rifle.
Yeah.
Because everyone was like, well, how are they doing that? It was like, well, there's nothing against the law against what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yep.
I will say on the conspiracy side of that thought is that if I show all these things on the internet and then the government comes knocking, like, this is you with this, where's this gun at? You know, like you just got...
Boating accident.
Yeah, boating. It's just kind of like, I don't like anybody knowing what I have kind of thing. Then again, there's tons of pictures on my Facebook of me skeet shooting. which is way different than what we're talking about.
I
But
mean, I gave up on that a long time ago when I looked at social media and so many millions of people have their guns up shooting. I mean, they'd be doing a lot of knocking.
yeah,
Can't
they
help.
would. That's the whole reason they don't want a registry thing too. Is like, well, it's like, well, you said you bought this. Where is it? You're responsible for this. I sold it. Where's the documentation for that?
I don't have to have it.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what they want to happen.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
what they
right.
want to be able to do. And so I guess it's like tinfoil hat kind of stuff. I'm not saying that that's wrong or right, but if you're thinking of it from that point of view, maybe it's like,
I used to. In fact, when I was much younger, I heard stories of the black helicopters, they're going to land and come take all this stuff. You can't live like that, man. I've made a lot of money off that, actually, people that still subscribe to the world is ending. I'm not saying there's not truth to it, but I would rather thrive than merely survive. And so I take a little bit of truth from these conspiracy theories. And when someone comes to me and I can tell they're just dead set that there's going to be no country in 6 months and they just want to stockpile food and water and they want to buy stuff from me, I'll sell it all day long.
Yeah.
And I'll sell it at the going market price.
Yeah.
And I'll tell them, I really don't think it's as dire as you think, but if you're convicted that it is, who am I to tell you different? But I'll take your money today.
yeah, there you go.
And I've made a lot off of that.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, is what it is.
I think you should. Why not?
I'm in the business.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing with you too. That's like the word is out that you like guns. I think that's pretty well known. It's like there's no really concealing it with you.
We went down a rabbit hole on guns.
We did,
Vernon, there's one thing I wanted to ask you. What is a CPAP machine?
Oh boy,
Do you have one?
continuous positive airway pressure machine.
Well, I don't even. Well, what is it? What like
See,
why
yeah.
why does Biden have one?
Okay, Biden has.
breathe.
That is a very common machine. Anybody with sleep apnea wears one.
Oh,
Even young people.
Even young people.
It's not that big of a deal.
It's not a big deal at all. like, who they made
He
a big
does
deal.
have those lines on his face.
Yeah, because
though.
he just woke up from a nap.
All right.
Yeah. So that would be the funny part if it's like 3 in the afternoon
Right.
and he has them. It's like he had his daily nap, but
anyway.
and he put his CPAP on for that. But yeah, there's young people. There's my dad's had one since he was in his 40s. He's like one of the first ones I ever saw have one. So yeah, all it is just force. So when you lay down, it's forcing air. It's positive airway pressure. So there's a certain amount of air being blown into your face, and it keeps your airway open so you don't choke yourself while you sleep. Which, like, that's linked to a lot of like heart disease is linked to.
They're not breathing correctly.
Yeah, it's basically you're just mild periods of apnea while you sleep and hypoxia, and it leads to poor sleep. I might have it mildly. I don't think I need a CPAP machine, but I am going to have some stuff in my nose I need to get fixed.
It seemed like if you have all this shit attached to your face, it would make it more difficult to sleep because you'd be uncomfortable.
It takes some getting used to. Like I said, both my stepdad and my dad are on it. It's very common, and it took a while for them to get used to it. And my dad, when he first got it, man, it was quite the machine. It was a big, like, went over his nose. There was a nose cone thing, and it was. I used to put it on when I was a kid just to kind of see what it was like, and now they're very minimal, the machines. So, but yeah, I think it takes some getting used to. But what all the people who are on it say is that they sleep amazing. Now they didn't know they were sleeping bad, and now that they're on it, they're like, I was tired during the day because of this. I was tired. I was waking up unrested because of this. So, yeah, the fact that they made a big deal for that for Biden that's I don't know what you call that. That's kind of a weak.
Okay.
There's so many other things to go at him for.
Yeah, like what he
And,
says.
Yeah, it's like I guarantee you Trump's on CPAP. I guarantee you, bro. It's like pretty much any older guy who has weight on him. Even guys who are, I know some guys who are very muscular guys who are on it.
Well, Biden is not like fat.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, he's normal looking old dude.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that it doesn't. You don't have to be fat. There's more instance of it when you are obese, a larger. But
Is it air or is it actually oxygen?
it's just air.
Just air. Another rabbit hole, but something kind of interesting. You know how sports athletes, when they get damaged, they'll go sit in a hyperbaric chamber? Mm-hmm. They increase the pressure, and I think they also increase the oxygen.
Well, you increase oxygen when you
Percentage.
increase pressure, but you can do hyperbaric with pure oxygen.
Yes.
which has some anti-aging effects too,
Yes.
apparently.
Yeah, and so I was aware of a study where they took like, I don't know, 30, 40 rest home patients, and they started getting them to sleep every night in a hyperbaric chamber with pure oxygen.
Yeah.
Like maybe 1.5 atmospheres, something
Very
like
little.
that.
It's
Very
very
little,
little, yeah.
but pure oxygen. They egressed, went backwards. What do you say? What's the word?
I don't know. Regression is going away from something.
From like something bad. I guess age.
Yeah.
Anyway, they went health-wise backwards 10 years.
Yeah.
When they stopped doing it, then the effects rapidly, gained back on them. So I started thinking, I knew a guy that had a company, underwater blasting. He'd blow oil rigs down, and he had his own chamber.
Yeah.
And I thought, that'd be worth buying and having, especially when you get older in your years. Every night, you just go to bed in that thing.
Well, there's people who make them, make their own. Usually they don't use pure oxygen. The biggest risk, and you can actually buy ones that are inflatable too.
Yeah.
The biggest risk though is the fire.
Fire inside. Yeah. Also your eyes. I want to say that in an environment of pure oxygen, I think it oxidizes the eye or something, cataracts.
Most people, yeah, I've heard that too. Most people who make their own are not doing pure oxygen, but the oxygen still increases in your body because of the pressure. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but that's what they say. So you can build your own. There's many people who have, and if you want to buy one, I've actually looked at them. Because I'm curious about them. I have this doctor I go to that you could pay to be in one that he has, and the one he has is like $50,000-$60,000.
Yeah, I'd just build my own, but I'd get naked and go in that sucker because you don't want to spark.
Yeah,
that.
Well, I wonder the ones that aren't pure oxygen if they're still just as dangerous. But yeah, the ones that pure. Anytime messing with pure oxygen, as you know, like that's scary stuff. Like you can mess up real quick.
And it's just fire though. Everybody thinks it's going to blow up. I'm like, no, oxygen just supports combustion.
Well, if you have a
Oxygen does
fire
not
inside a closed container, then it will explode. I mean, that's
It's probably going to be a flash fire. Is probably what's going to happen. If you've got like bedding that's going to burn or clothes. I heard a horrible story about a diver that came up and he had a cigarette lighter in his pocket, and he just out of habit flicked it, and the spark hit clothing or something, and
and
it
still has to have fuel.
Yeah,
like if there's no fuel, like you said, if you're naked, but it's.
I wonder about the clothing and static.
Your skin is fuel. I mean,
no, I know.
Yeah, it will burn with oxygen.
Everything will burn with oxygen. So, but I wonder, okay, what do you have in there that you could lay down on and get comfortable that doesn't make a static spark? I wouldn't even want to spark with that fiber.
Yeah, there's YouTube videos on guys who've made their own, and I think they have grounding and stuff like that involved in it.
Maybe I'll just go with the increased oxygen, but not pure.
Yeah, well, like I said, I think if you increase the pressure, that increases oxygen.
Probably it would increase the oxygen intake of your body.
Yes, something like that. I'm not sure how that works because it's still room air is only 21%.
Well, that works the same way a soda water bottle does. You put CO2 on top of water, nothing's going to happen. But put it under pressure, and it absorbs into that water at a higher rate.
Yeah, I'm not smart enough to know, but something along those lines.
Something along them lines, yeah. That's my understanding.
There's YouTube. If you wanted to do it, there's a lot of people on YouTube who've made them, and I don't think it's too hard. And you can also buy it for maybe $1,000 or something like that. Buy the inflatable ones.
So that's got to play hell on antigens and all kinds of microbes and everything else. It ought to be a great way to go in and get rid of an infection.
Yeah. Well, they treat wounds that way. They treat injuries with that, and it does heal faster. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. Like there's podcasts that talk about that too. Andrew Huberman's a good one. I don't know if he has one of hyperbarics, but it's definitely in his realm.
I just thought that'd be a good thing for every community to have. It's simple. It's not that complicated.
They have them where they're whole rooms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like hospitals will have them where they're like a room this size. So you can, like a group of people can go into them at one time.
Smoke cigars.
Yeah. I think it'll smoke for a very, very short amount of time. I think though, like you said, though, the benefits are very temporary. So
you give back all the gains
you got to do it like a lot.
But what I'm getting at is, if let's say you're 70 years old and you build one of these, and every night you're sleeping in it, you're going to
be doing pretty good.
You're going to be great at coffee time in the morning.
I tell you what, though, it's going to be hard to see the true benefits of that, because a person who is that dedicated is also dedicated to eating well, exercising, probably doing sauna, cold plunge.
I'll be the test.
Yeah.
I'll just smoke and drink when I turn 65.
Yeah.
And then I'll just start at 70 sleeping in that thing. I'll give up on everything else except that.
Do you think they got Joe Biden sitting in one of those every night?
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, well, Michael Jackson had one. He had one for a long time. I remember they said everybody's like, that's one of the weird things he would do is sleep in hyperbaric.
And that ain't even weird, but you know what? Biden does not. I can tell you, I've listened to him talk. He does not sleep in one of those.
Well, if he is, man,
it's not working.
Bad? Is he bad when it's not? Like if they've got him on Adderall and sleeping in hyperbaric chambers, and this is the result, like this dude won't even be able to feed himself when they stop doing that, because it's pretty bad. Oh my goodness, I don't. So I guess back to politics, like what are like the Democrats' end game? Like if anybody but Trump runs against Biden, he's done. Like he's only can stand a chance against Trump because people will vote for him because they just hate Trump. If anybody else, if anybody, as DeSantis gets the primary, like it's a landslide because people are just, even people on the left are like we can't just have.
Oh God, I wish Trump would win just because I would just want to see the meltdown.
Really, well, I wanted Trump to win this time so we can be done with him. Like I don't like Biden, but I'm not a huge fan of Trump either. If my dad hears that, I'm probably out of the will.
Which would you rather have?
Well, of course, I'd rather have Trump. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'd rather have, but I don't like playing that game. As like, well, do you want giant douche or the turd sandwich?
Giant douche.
Yeah, like which one do you want? It's like I don't want either one of them. What's the third option? It's like you don't get one. So that whole thing is like, well, he's better than Hillary. I think so. He's better than Biden. Sure.
Well, they say these things, but they don't back it up. Let me back it up a little bit. When he was in there, my tax people that do my taxes for me said, dude, there are so many benefits that have opened up that we're going to be able to take advantage of now because of this guy.
I always make more money when a Republican's in office, I've noticed.
So there was that. And then also from the regulatory side, I felt the weaponization of that step way back.
Yeah.
Way back. I mean, why does the EPA need a SWAT team? Serious. Yeah. Give me any scenario where the EPA needs people with automatic weapons. Why do I need a machine gun? No, excuse me. Why does the EPA need a machine gun? Because all they have to do, if there's dudes with machine guns shooting people while they're dumping toxic waste in the ocean, well, you call the police.
Yeah, so it's just law enforcement.
Well, generally speaking, if you SWAT team somebody, the news article reads that and they're assumed to be guilty. So that's why you need SWAT teams. So when you go after somebody with your SWAT team, it's a no-brainer that they're guilty.
The EPA would have the worst SWAT team ever.
If you get SWAT team,
just no experience, and they're just taking down people who aren't hard targets.
He poured some chemical out.
So the best SWAT teams are ones who get lots of practice.
If you get SWAT teamed by the EPA, I'm just saying the news article's not looking good for you.
Yes.
Right.
That's why it's important we SWAT team these people.
Yeah, but stop and think about that. When I noticed in my industry members saying it's not as scary right now. Like, there's no problem with regulators. That we're heavily regulated. We got our paperwork. They come in, they do the checks, they leave. It's just everyday business. But when they show up and it's that aggression, when you feel that aggression behind that scene, it's unnerving.
Yeah,
and you don't feel like you're in America, and you don't feel like they're on your team.
Yeah,
you don't feel like, hey, we're working together against the bad guys. I'm working to secure my stuff, make sure it's locked up. It's like we're a team.
Well, if they don't believe you should have it in the first place, then they're going to manipulate they're going to look for any little.
And see, that's the difference between my industry and the gun industry. I'm not so much your retail gun guy, and so I don't deal with that side of it. When I'm in industrial explosives, which are real partnered with the government. I mean, that is the foundation of your oil, your gas, your mining, all that stuff. So that's needed. They're like, hell yeah, you need that because that's how we have everything we have.
Yeah.
But I still don't like seeing them with guns. It doesn't. I was like, wait, we're on the same team here. Why do you have a SWAT team and threaten? And some of the egos get involved, and it gets creepy. And with Trump, you definitely saw a decrease in that.
Yeah. Well, I think that there was benefits from him just because he was Republican. You're going to see benefits in that way, but another Republican would have done the same thing. I feel
kind of. I mean, George Bush. We lost a lot of freedom under that guy.
Well, yeah, but so I guess when it comes down to it, or this conversation is who's the better candidate, Trump or DeSantis? And I think DeSantis does everything that Trump does without being.
No, Trump. DeSantis stopped being an option when they indicted Trump because everyone's like, even people that wanted to prefer DeSantis, like, well, I gotta vote for the guy that's going to jail. that they're trying to put in jail.
Yeah,
I'm not kidding. Like
that's
his
how
polls,
stupid we are now.
his
His
polls
polls are crazy.
skyrocketed since they tried to throw Trump in the slammer.
I agree. I heard it today. I heard it today on a podcast. It's something like 50-something%, and DeSantis has like 19.
Even me, I don't
Really?
Yeah, something.
Even me, I really don't like Trump. But as soon as they started trying to put him in jail, I'm like, well, I guess I got to vote for him because if he's that, if they want him in the jail that bad, he must be good.
Here's another theory to that I heard is, what if they know, okay, so in order for Biden to win, he needs to run against somebody like Trump, somebody as hated as Trump. And if they just left Trump alone and to his own devices, they kind of figured maybe that DeSantis would knock him out and he wouldn't run again because of that, and then he'd be too old on the next one, or he wouldn't care anymore, something like that. So in order to get the best opponent for them was to go after him and prosecute him and persecute him. That way the people would stand behind him. He'd win the primary. Biden can run against him again, and maybe they can beat him. So that's like the theory is that they're doing this almost to make him the primary front runner. The Democrats want him to be the front runner because he's hated so much. He's so divisive. They can win against him. They can't win against anybody else that can hold a conversation. Honestly,
when you originally asked this question, you asked about the Democrats. Well, I think what their plan is. If you look at the last some of the White House briefings, the gloves came off. Like even the CNN folks were asking about all the crimes and bribes they've been doing, and so. The memo got out that the mainstream media can now attack Biden and can attack Hunter Biden and link the two together. So I think they're throwing Biden. I think they're throwing him in the garbage, and I think Gavin Newsom's the new man.
Gavin Newsom
or Michelle Obama. Yeah,
one of those. I can see Michelle Obama, but Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, Gavin.
He was about
Newsom.
to get kicked out of his own state, but then they came together for him.
He's perfect. Look at all the great things he did.
Yeah, look at California; it's booming.
That seems,
Everybody's, we lost like 4 more families this week from Texas moving to California.
Yeah. From Texas. Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, you asked. I mean, it's not Biden. It's not like they're like, let's run Biden.
Yeah. Well, but that's what they're trying to do right now. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like they want Trump to run again.
But anyway, so I wanted to bring up that I watched some of these videos of the gay pride stuff that what I read the headlines about. And, I said there was naked men dancing in front of children, which was true. But I watched the video, and sure enough, there's just, like, you're going to see a dude's junk, whether he's...
For real? Like, it's not covered with a T-sack?
No, they're completely naked. What's worse is they're, like, riding bikes.
Ugh.
Like, riding a bike naked? Yeah.
Hemorrhoid City.
Yes. And but one guy was on a tricycle, and I wasn't fully confirmed he was naked till he like turned, and then it was like spread eagle. I was like, oh gosh.
Wait.
And then children are there, so I was like, okay, so this makes me think like, well, can I just take off all my clothes and go and walk down the street? No, I'll get arrested. So somehow it makes it okay if you're in a gay pride parade to be naked in front of, and worse yet, there's children. Obviously, they're watching it all.
So I was in San Francisco at Heights and Ashbury. I think that's a famous intersection. And I was there with my exchange student, and all of a sudden her face turned beet red. I'm like, what are you looking at? And I turned around, and it's this dude walking down the street, butt-ass naked. But his junk was in a little sack. Oh. And I think that was considered covering. So the fact that they are just actually letting the genitalia out.
There was nothing.
It might not be legal, but it's one of those things where the cops are like, this is the time we just don't mess with it.
Well,
like, don't come around here if you don't want to see it.
But there are,
so that's exactly what happened. The cops aren't enforcing it because it's like, well, it's the gay pride thing, and the gay pride, they know they can get, they know they can get away with it.
Who's gonna like, hey man, go arrest that guy, go pull him off his bike and arrest him,
and then you're made the
with
news.
His cock hanging out. That's.
So I know a few things. I've talked to people. I talked to a guy once that actually runs a nudist. Well, he ran a nudist facility, I guess you'd call it. I don't know. It was a place. And I was asking him about that. I said, so how do you handle the legalities of this? And if it was a dedicated area like that, where you were taking your child in there and you knew that they were going to see naked people, apparently that's on you, because they're not like bombing you in your neighborhood. You're going to them.
Yeah.
And then he was talking about, he said, you'll never in the state of Texas, if you get naked and walk down the street down there, they could arrest you for indecent exposure. You could have, you could actually become a not a pedophile. What do they call that? Sex offender. Yeah. You could become a sex offender.
Like getting caught peeing at a school playground.
Something like that. However,
I heard that story before.
If you get caught skinny dipping, let's say a man and a woman get naked and go in the Colorado River, not in front of somebody's house, just out there, and some nerd catches them and is going to want to cause a ruckus about that. The state will never prosecute that. You know why? Because they know that in a court of law, he said they know that 12 jurors are not going to vote to convict two consenting adults, not anywhere where children were going to be anyway. Guys, I've gone skinny dipping in the creek plenty of times. And if somebody snuck out there in the woods and saw me and tried to pull this shit on me, I would totally take that to trial. And I would hope somebody would be like, no, he's not in the middle of nowhere, skinny dipping. This is not a sex offender. And they won't process it because they don't want to show that being beat in court. So I'm wondering, is there an angle on that?
Is it legal to be nude in your own property? Like if you're out walking your fence line, just a pair of boots on and a smile, and you're looking for some fix some barbed wire, which is very brave,
very brave.
But yeah, you're out there and your neighbor sees you.
Are we talking city limits, ETJ, county? You know, that
here,
matters.
I'm talking here.
Well, we're in a county out here.
Okay, but you can't do other. You can't like.
I think if you're in the
indecent
county,
exposure still is indecent exposure in the county.
In public, but if you're in the county and not on a public road
from your property,
only by your neighbors and not the public
somebody
road.
going down the road. Let's say somebody drives down that road out there, and I'm out in the pasture butt naked, and I'm 50 yards out there, but you can clearly tell I'm naked. That's a good question. If a cop drove by, would they say you can't do that?
Yeah, I
don't know.
Like the visual part of it is like, where is my property? Is here? Is like what if I walk around my house and you can see in my windows or something in the neighborhood?
I think that's like the old joke. The lady called the law and said, then people were walking around naked, and the cop said, what do you mean? She said, come here and look right here. If you get down at this angle, you can see
I can see it, yeah. That's a weird one. I think that's a...
So back to the original question. In a city, we have laws about indecent exposure and all that. So how are they able, in a public environment where children are present and you're not, they're bringing it to the kids. It's not like the kids went to a nudist park.
I have the answer.
Well, they did go to a parade.
The answer is
the gay parade.
Yes.
Which makes me still wonder why they got to get naked.
The answer is culture is more important than the laws on the books.
So I'm keeping my guns because that's my culture, right?
But the culture is going anti-gun though. Like what the cops they're supposed to enforce the law, but guess what? They're not, and the reason is the culture. They're like, well, I'm not going to go enforce the gays all got naked and did a parade. Well, I'm not touching that. No one else is either.
Literally.
So I mean, once again, it's something that, it's like the kids shouldn't be seeing that, but it's not people like us taking their kids to the gay pride parade.
But it's not the kids that are there. It's not their choice to be there either. So it's not like just because you had shitty parents means like you have to have a screwed up upbringing.
It's kind of like that question you were asking me about, like, aren't you afraid they're going to trans your kid when he gets older? And I'm like, no, not even a little bit.
Not even worried about that.
I'm not scared of it at all because
your kids.
Name one conservative with the kids. They're fighting their kids to be trans. Like it's not. I mean, maybe there's some, but I'm just saying
it's usually a split couple. Like the guy and the woman. His wife wanted to trans him, but he didn't. So it's usually when they're divided in the couple.
Yeah, I think that's
an easy divorce.
I think there's and then they took custody. They took custody away from the dad because of it. But I think that's a rarity, and maybe it will become more common if we don't fight it. But I'm just saying, because there wasn't like a church getting out and the kids came out from the church and there's the gay pride parade. Like they know the route, they know what happens at these parades.
But I still want to go back to gay pride. Why is that synonymous with getting butt naked?
Well, because it's a bunch of dudes. So it's a bunch of like what
I think he's on the same thread as me, but basically,
maybe not. But we'll see. So I always said this about like and I hope it doesn't get me in trouble. But like a man and a woman, a man is the gas pedal and the woman's the brake, right? Men want to have sex all the time, and some women do too. But for the most part, men are the hypersexual, and women are kind of the limiting factor on that,
Right.
right? That I'd have sex way more if I could with my wife, but she's like, hey, it's not every day,
Right.
whatever. So when it's two dudes, though, it's just all gas pedal. There's no brake, right? It's like, so I mean,
So they just
so why not?
Yes.
get naked all the time.
Yeah,
So why not?
When you go to these gay parades, it's like it's a yes, it's
So
gay,
I'm a lesbian.
it's a gay parade, but it's also a sort of a
If you
celebration.
identify as a woman, you could be.
It's a celebration of like slut culture in general too, because like
Yes, that's true.
like
too.
heterosexual female and male will feel more comfortable making out in public at that location with a bunch of other gay dudes doing the same sexualized stuff.
It's kind of like
That's
a
a vibe.
hedonism parade. or
That's a
something.
vibe I got when I saw one of these for the first time. I think in 2017 in Amsterdam, there was this float with a bunch of like 20-foot tall penises, and I was like,
Sounds like some shit I'd draw when I was in 12 years old.
but like why? Like why the celebration? Like aren't these like isn't this considered indecent like in some kind of way? But no, we're just having 20-foot tall.
The thing is too, though, I think is and I agree with you, but it's also like I'm not going to these things. It's not for me. That's not. They didn't make it for
See,
me.
but-
They didn't, and I'm just not.
See, but
I'm not gonna go to that.
If you travel Europe in the summer, I don't think you can travel for quite a long time without running into them. They're everywhere, and if you're going to be in capital cities, travel in Europe, they're going to be in capital cities. And if they're in
if I
Amsterdam,
see one, I'm gonna be like, oh, and I'm just gonna go on about my life.
they just take over the whole the whole city. Like if they're big, like so I uploaded pictures on social media of that one in Amsterdam not too long ago. I was in Serbia. Was it Belgrade, Serbia? And they had like the SWAT team there to protect the like 3 gay guys in the parade because this is a super conservative country. And it was like to put the side by side photos of like the SWAT team, and then this is big float with penises. It's
Yeah.
like completely different. But no, man, like I was in Austin downtown last summer, and I didn't plan it. And if you wanted to walk from West 6 to Dirty 6, they were going down Congress. Big, huge parade. You weren't going to get around that. But I mean, it was like, I don't know. It's in public at like the most common locations in capital cities downtown. So it's not
I guess I don't know. It doesn't. It's not that I think it's right. It just doesn't bother me. I guess. I don't know. I'm not going to go there, and I'm not really going to pay attention to it. So
I'm the same as you. I don't understand the why. I mean, I've got friends that are in that, and they tell me about their parties and their events, and I don't care. It's kind of intriguing, actually. Sometimes you listen to the depths that these people go into, and you're just like, wow, you got to listen to it. But to put it on parade,
like, why be naked?
Why- yeah,
It's
what-
a really good question, though. Like, why?
drop your balls out there.
But that's where they ran into problems is because, when it was just about gay rights and getting married and stuff, I think they had most people were on board with that, and
And then they're like, hold the horses. Okay, now it's ready. Let it out.
but then they just turned it into like this
Freak show.
hyper slut culture, but then involving kids, and we're like, and now people
Yeah.
are finally like, oh, hang on, wait, no, what, like,
But now look, man, it's there.
yeah.
and once again too, I don't think that's everybody in that
Not at all.
because I've seen some people speak outwardly about
Yeah.
that.
Absolutely.
I definitely have friends in that community who aren't hypersexualized. Like
Definitely ain't gonna say I'm coming for your children.
yeah. But the ones who are the ones who are seen the most. Probably they're the most visual. The ones who get out and do that stuff, right? Like, so.
Quantum bombs.
All right.